Good morning, Top War friends. Cookie here with a preview of your Titan Warship base. It's the new Navy base releasing this month. It will be out in the next couple days. And it comes in two levels, a level 1 and a level 2. As I've always said about level 1 bases, they're okay if you don't have anything else and you can't get more vouchers than that, but really the level 2 bases are where the real upgrades are. So if you have any upgraded base, that level 1 base isn't really going to do much for you. It does give you 10% damage increase in the front row, 7% decreased damage in the back 2 rows, and then 35% attack boost with a 22% Navy HP holding and stock boost. Again, if you only get to like that number of vouchers, which I think is $2.99 for that, then sure, by all means, grab it if you use your Navy. If you don't use your Navy, it's useless to you. But the base I think everybody wants to hear about and the one I want to talk about is the Titan Warship, which is the level 2 base. It gives you a 20% Navy damage increase in the front row. It gives you a 15% Navy decrease damage in the back 2 rows. And it gives you a 70% attack boost. Holding in stock, it also adds 50% HP boost and 2% decreased damage taken for Navy. In the past, we've seen some of these bases have that decreased damage for all units, like the Enigma Island base did that. But keep in mind, this time the holding in stock is only for Navy. So that's something to keep in consideration if you don't really use your Navy very much. Now let's compare it to Enigma Island and I guess Lake Lerna Marsh, although if you watched my Lake Lerna Marsh video, I recommended to you don't go for that one over Enigma Island. So Enigma Island is probably was your best Navy base before this, so let's see how it compares. Enigma Island had a 20% damage increase in the front row for Navy as well. And then it had a 70% HP boost for the first 2 rows. And then it had a 70% attack boost for all units. So it was almost the exact same thing except that middle line. Right, Titan Warship goes Navy decreased damage taken in back 2 rows plus 15%. And Enigma Island goes... Enigma Island goes 70% HP in the first 2 rows. So the way I compare those is I think the Navy decreased damage of 15% is about the same as a HP boost of about 90%. So on the surface, 15% is better than, the 70% HP boost. The only other factor here is that the HP boost was for the first 2 rows, while this decreased damage taken is in the back 2 rows. So your first row takes the brunt of the damage first, and then the second row and the third row. And so usually I always like to say that the first row is a little more important than the third row, and the middle row is in the middle. But I don't know if it's 20% more important. So on the surface, I would say this base is very slightly better than Enigma Island. But the difference is marginal. So if you're getting it for just equipping and you don't want to spend to reach that goal, I think you're perfectly fine riding with Enigma Island and saying, you know what, I'm just going to live with what I've got. Now, the other consideration here is the holding and stock boost, right? So the Navy HP boost of plus 50% and the Navy decreased damage of plus 2%. If you watched my past videos on these bases, I feel like that 50% HP boost and that 2% decreased damage is very nice if you have Navy. And if you're able to get to that number of vouchers, the holding and stock boost alone is worth it because you're going to add up those 50% HPs pretty fast. It's not common that they give you 50% HP for something. So while I don't think it's an upgrade over Enigma Island, or while I don't think it's a significant upgrade over Enigma Island, I still think with the holding and stock boost and the slight upgrade, you may want to get it if you're a Navy main. If you're not a Navy main and you use all your troop types, there are better bases for you to use, obviously. And if you don't use boats at all, this is probably a waste for you, so don't really worry about it. Now, just as a comparison for the Navy people out there, in my opinion, I use Kung Fu Feast right now as my base. And I haven't looked at Enigma Turret yet, which we can get soon here as well. But comparing to Kung Fu Feast has the 20% damage increase in the front row for all units. It has a 15% decreased damage for the first 2 rows, so that second line is better with Kung Fu Feast than it is with this. And it has a 30% attack boost for all units, so it doesn't give you the attack that this does. So if you're a Navy main who doesn't have Enigma Island but is using Kung Fu Feast or one of those other universal bases, and you don't use your other troop types, you may want to look at this base, because I do think if you're using just boats, it'll perform better than Kung Fu Feast will. But that's the basic gist of the Titan Warship base. So Navy mains, I think it's a good base for you, even if you're holding it in stock. If you don't have Enigma Island, I think it's a really good base for you. And I think it will perform well for you out there. Everybody else, this base isn't really for you, but I appreciate you watching. As always, guys, like and subscribe. Cookie out.